Everyday Superpower signing in. Law number 9 of the 48 laws of power. Learn to keep people dependent on you. When someone isn't dependent on you in the workplace, if you were to be management, team leader, or so on and so forth, you become replaceable, you become meaningless, you lose your power, you lose your position. Why are you getting paid more at that point? They need to be dependent on you in order for them to continue doing things the right way. If a business can continue running without aid of the director or the manager, the CEO, and so on and so forth, what is the need of that particular individual? It just seems like they're fleecing the hard work of the organization. So what happens is, and don't get me wrong, apply and find parallels in regards to this wherever you may, because the corporate world and the life external all flows in the same way. It's all based on the dynamics between humans, right? Everyone plays a part, and everyone's given a position for one reason or another by one person or another, so you have to work out what's going on. You will only get paid so much. It will be called competitive as opposed to minimum wage, right? Because of course profit is the first and foremost purpose of a business, the ones you work for at the very least. So for the most part, they aren't going to pay you so much that you can become independent. You have to rely upon the workplace, upon your boss, to continue paying you these little drips of hourly wage or annual wage or so forth monthly, in order to pay your bills, look after your children, so on and so forth. And given that that payment was cut, it's bad news, isn't it? So that's law number 9. Learn to keep others dependent on you. That's what the powerful boss applies and implements within their system in order to keep a hold of the structure, and in order to keep it business as usual. You can go over and say you've not done a good job, you need to do that better, and implement that change, given that that person does need to do so in order to keep their job, because that job is their livelihood, right? Make sense? As far as relationships, I mean, this sounds it sounds rubbish really, doesn't it? But we're talking power here. We're not talking your general Joe Schmo stuff. This is if you want to you know, really progress and succeed in your life as a whole. The people around you, your team, your friends, need to find reason in you that benefits them. Otherwise, you can just be left aside and left out. So are people dependent on you to make them laugh, to make them feel good, to be a shoulder to cry on? I mean, that's sales really, isn't it? In a cult leader will have people depend on them in a spiritual manner. You must believe in me because I am this, and when you believe in me, this is the outcome. Yeah? Learn to keep others dependent on you. If I'm not a participant of the group, you'll make less money. If I'm not a participant of the group, you'll make less numbers. If I'm not a participant of the group, you won't be able to have access to as many girls when we go out on a night out. Famous rappers, famous fighters, like successful fighters and so forth, they have a team. That team is dependent on the fighter to win, dependent on the rapper to continue producing money. The crew exists only as long as the dependency is there. If they don't depend on the rapper to pay their bills, if they don't depend on the fighter to continue winning, to pay their bills, to look after themselves, to give them the credibility they need to establish their own business, then guess what? You're disposable. They are disposable. When you depend on somebody to get a job done because it's ever so important to you, and they start taking their time with it because it's not that important in their world, how does that make you feel? It makes you feel very uncomfortable. You are dependent on them. You see how this to and fro of power dynamic works? Learn to keep others dependent on you. Your dog loves you to the moon and back because you feed it, because you water it, because you give it shelter. It's dependent on you. The child depends on the parents to care and cater for it so it can grow and learn. But what happens when that child becomes independent? It rebels and it moves away from that. Starts to care for itself. Starts to despise the parent because that dependency is being cut loose. I'm signing out.